What was so unique about this trip is your phones didn't work. So it was a 10-day trip all around the Mediterranean, and we had no access to phones.
At that point in my life, very few times had really gotten a knowing or a sense from the Lord. You're going to fall in love, and that's going to be your wife.
I remember my mom said, I think he would be someone that would be really nice to date. I'm like, Ma, he lives in Oklahoma. Like, I'm in Houston. Like, that makes no sense.
And I take you to the top of the Eiffel Tower. We were up there looking around, and we're talking, and the next thing I know, you turn around, I'm down on my knee, and we get engaged.
December 31st, 2013, you wrote on a piece of paper what you wanted in a mate.
Yep. I can't believe, like, literally, God gave me you. Welcome to Good Neighbor Gamechangers.
We're Matt and Brittany, here to help you love boldly, lead with purpose, and shift the atmosphere right where you are.
This is your place to get encouraged, equipped, and activated to live on mission.
It starts by loving our neighbors in life and in business.
This is Good Neighbor Gamechangers. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in.
Hi, welcome back to Good Neighbor Gamechangers. We are so excited that you are tuning in, and we are about to talk about the time me and Matt met. But first, I wanted to recap a little bit of what we talked about in our first podcast. And, I'm Brittany. This is Matt. I'm from Texas. He's from Oklahoma. We both grew up avid athletes. He played football all the way through college, and I played volleyball all the way through college. We both graduate, get to our first job, freshman volleyball coach. He was a teller at a bank. We did that for a few years, then landed on the same exact job for the same company 4 hours apart. He lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had moved to Dallas. So we're both working a corporate job for about 4 years, and he becomes an agent. I as well become an agent. And so this is where we left off. We're about to talk a little bit more about your career as an agent and the moment, that special moment that we met.
Yeah, so it was really a unique situation being in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, it's a little suburb of Tulsa. I had a lot of expectations as an OU football player. My dad was a State Farm insurance agent as well. And so there was this kind of pressure to perform, this pressure to, you only got this job because, and you could fill in the blank.
Right.
And I'd heard it all. So I was definitely wanted to perform, but that's kind of all I knew. That was you backed in a corner and you come out swinging. And we were fortunate, man. I built a good team. But at that point, I was also, I was single and I didn't have anything holding me down. So all I did was work. So I was there early. I would run to the payway that was in the strip shopping center, and they would, any food that they got the order wrong, they'd leave in the back and they'd give me. And so I would eat real quick and then I'd come back to the office and I'd work. And fortunately, man, we had some success. We sold a lot of insurance policies, took care of a lot of people, had a lot of conversations, and we were able to qualify for different incentives that the company offered. And one of those incentives was a trip to New Orleans. And you were in Houston having some similar success, and you'd qualified for that very same trip to New Orleans. And it was a meeting, and a high-level meeting. And there was only maybe 400 or 500 agents out of the 19,000 we have that were there. And you may tell that's part of the story better. I mean, what were we on the airplane or in the... Yeah.
Interesting to see what your perspective was. But really quick, I feel like this is important to talk about that pressure. When you were stepping into a family business per se, something that your father has done and done well, and now it's your turn to continue the legacy, to have success coming out of sports. Both of us had even been on TV before. We had been recognized in our hometowns very easily. And then now stepping in with a huge risk.
Sure.
Of, although there was so much wisdom to stand on, there was immense pressure that we had on our back.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I think this will make sense as we continue talking more about the kingdom part, is I remember being told, and I don't know if you were told this, but you will not be able to do this if your dad does not help you and fund this. And I thought, wow, that is not encouraging. And I took that and I said, okay, I'm going to do this without any finances from my parents. And I have to succeed
Yeah.
because people think I just have a pink business plan and that I can't do this. Now, there's something about your back being against the wall that was very familiar in sports. There's something about being told you can't do it.
Sure.
But what it does is it caused me to have this grit inside of me that was really strong ambition to prove people wrong. Now, later on, I realized this was not a healthy foundation for me to build something with because it was despite, it was to prove, and I had lost the heart of why I was doing it just to prove someone wrong because it was very hurtful. I don't know if you've done or had some experience in that.
Sure. Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk about the realness of stepping into a family mantle that sometimes can feel like, oh, all right, I'm having to really white knuckle it, and really lost the grace and the flow, the anointing that was supposed to be happening because my heart, that seed from that person really affected my heart.
I probably, yes, I did face that and heard that same stuff opening up my business, but I probably felt it or saw it more going to OU. I don't think you're going to be able to make it. That's big time football. I don't know. Are you big enough? Are you fast enough? Are you strong enough? I don't know if you can do that. And, there was several guys before me out of my high school that went on to OU and were doing really well. And so I remember, Britt, probably more facing that as that back against the wall, I'm going to prove. But then you also look within yourself and you're asking your own self, can I do this?
Right.
Can I really do this?
Yeah. There's a
And
little insecurity.
there's a little insecurity there. And so you overcompensate and,
Right.
you kind of start to put other things in there to mask things. But overall, I think you look back and you say, hey, there was some good out of it.
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
you take and you learn how to fight. You learn how to be tough. You find that grit inside of you and that resolve to go make it happen. And now everyone's going to come up with all these different reasons and, all the different things about it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Wouldn't trade the lessons learned for anything. And then I think, that really helped me then stepping into State Farm, knowing, hey, there's some expectations, there's some doubters, there's some haters. So I was like, bring it on, let's go. But I was still in the back of my mind thinking, can I do this?
Right.
Like-
Yeah, same. I think I want to say this now, so as you follow along, you'll understand when I have this encounter with the Lord that He really was helping me be set free from a competitive spirit that was ungodly. And it started kind of a theme in my life to set me up to constantly have to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
This just rejection that would come and I'd have to fight. And it really just wasn't godly, but I didn't know anything else. I didn't have any tools. But yes, of course, it brought us to the place where we had the success and this just fortitude where, man, it almost felt like, well, it's up to me. And so, your drive is so strong.
You find a way.
We found a way, but recognizing later that there's actually a godly, competition, not ungodly versus ungodly. So anyways, let's talk about, so we've had the success, we're grinding it out, and we qualify for this trip. This is my first trip, and you've been on a few of these. And so I am showing up. I am actually
With a suitcase the size of Texas.
yeah, for like a 2 or 3 day trip. And you said the very first moment you saw me was on the airplane. You flew from Tulsa to Houston. I get on the flight in Houston.
Yeah.
You saw me. I didn't see you. And then we fly to New Orleans.
Yeah.
So then we get to New Orleans and we end up meeting in the elevator,
Yep.
getting our bags, loving an elevator.
Yeah.
And you introduced yourself.
Yeah, and it was, I think there was just, we were all excited to be there, and you were a young agent, I was a younger agent, and I think it was more of just like hey, I'm Matt.
Of course.
And it's like, well, hey, I'm Brittany. And really, I don't think there was a whole lot much, but I remember vividly seeing you. You stood out. I remember what you were wearing and just your look, your earrings, your makeup, your glasses, all the things. It wasn't a major, show-stopping moment, but I remember vividly that encounter. And, we kind of go on through the meeting, and I think we'd saw each other once or twice during the meeting, and somebody else may have introduced us vaguely, and one of our buddies down in Houston. And so that was a really cool thing. But then it really changed then when we go about a month later on a trip to Barcelona on a Mediterranean cruise that the company that we had both qualified for by selling insurance
Right.
to go on.
Right.
And I remember that, I don't know, we're 2 days on the boat, maybe the first night on the boat, my luggage didn't make it. My suitcase had been lost. You remember? And I'm wearing like a USA t-shirt or something that the gift shop had given me. And I had some shorts the gift shop had given me. And yeah, just looking primo.
Well, I remember in the elevator, you had introduced yourself, and you was, hello, I'm Matt. And I was like, man, I could tell this guy wasn't from Texas. That's all I remember. And you had made fun of how much luggage I brought.
Oh, yeah.
And so, we saw each other a few times. And anyway, so yeah, that was that. But then when you were on the boat,
Yeah.
and you saw me, see, you had remembered me from New Orleans. But when I saw you, I did not remember. I didn't remember your name. But I knew again, and it was so funny because I'm with my mom. She was my guest. And she goes, who's that guy coming over here? I said, I don't know. I know he doesn't look like someone from Texas. And I don't know why. I just, because growing up on all these trips when my dad would qualify, I just kind of got to know a lot of the Texas agents. And I just knew you like
didn't know this guy.
Yeah, I didn't know him. So you had come over so boldly and was like, hi, remember me? I said, oh my gosh. And I'm literally trying to remember.
No, I think I was like, hi, Brittany.
Yeah. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Wow. And so you did remember.
Yeah, I remembered you. And it was just like, because, I remember it's like, man, you're just, there's a lot of people there. And I remember a familiar face. And I was like, well, hey, what's up? And I knew to me, you were like, yeah, who is this guy? Yeah, like, you remember we met at Sherman Circle, last month? And you kind of gave me the old courtesy. Oh, yeah. But I don't.
Yeah, I didn't. But then you had told me, okay, I'm Matt. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, yes. Okay, awesome. And we started to
just started talking.
And then what was so unique about this trip is your phones didn't work. So it was a 10-day trip all around the Mediterranean, and we had no access to phones. So can you imagine going 10 days with no phone right now? That was so much time to talk. And that's what we did. We ended up.
We just
talking.
Just like, I remember it was like more like, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing this? Like, how are you surviving? I mean, you're feeling the same pressure I'm feeling, or you're feeling the same stresses that I'm feeling.
Right.
We're trying to manage these people. We barely know how to manage ourselves, let alone like a whole team of people, and trying to sell insurance. And I remember us just talking and finding out so many commonalities and connecting points. And that was such a cool experience at that point. It's like, we were just like talking.
Yeah.
Or just hanging out. Like, you're the youngest person, I'm the youngest person. We're just hanging out and finding these connecting points. And then, you look back, obviously God had a bigger plan and there was so much more to it. And, we're just young and trying to figure it out.
Of course. Yeah. And I remember we actually talked till 6 in the morning. The boat was docking and we were outside talking, and it was like we were passing
Africa
or something. And I remember my mom said, well, where were you? I'm like, oh, well, me and Matt were just talking. And she started to get a clue. She's like, wow. She's like, well, and I'll never forget that she said that. She's like, I think he would be someone that would be really nice to date. I'm like, Mom, he lives in Oklahoma. Like, I'm in Houston. Like, that makes no sense. And she just knew. She knew that.
Oh, bar.
Yep, she did. And so, but then by the 10th day, it was like, okay.
That was cool.
This was really.
It was a great experience, yeah.
And of course, Barcelona was so romantic. And then I'm expecting you to, get my number. We don't have our phones working. But they had asked if anyone wanted to volunteer to get off the plane because it was overbooked. And my mom looks at me like, hey, I'd love to stay because you've been hanging out with Matt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, let's stay. And so you had come to me and said, well, it was so nice to meet you and hang out with you. Here's my number. And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is not going to ask for my number. What in the world? And I was like, no, I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
It was so bad. Oh my gosh. So Anyway, so I get bumped off, you go home, and then what happened?
Well, I get home and then
On the flight.
yeah, on that flight coming home, I remember hearing at that point in my life, very few times had really gotten a knowing or a sense from the Lord. Probably more things than I realized, but at that point, I didn't really know how to hear the voice of the Lord per se. But this was pretty clear. You're going to fall in love, and that's going to be your wife. And I remember thinking, whoa, no, wow, that was, I don't know about all that. And so I remember getting home, and I literally drove straight to the office from the airport, and I sent you an email.
Yes.
Hey, here's my number, call me, whatever, or what it said. But you get your email access a day or two later.
Well, no, so I'm still in
Oh, and you're all bent out of shape.
with my mom, and I'm like, trying to have fun with her, and I'm just talking about you the whole time. And she's like, well, Britt, like, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know. Why didn't he ask for my number? Like, that just is so bothersome because, like, we had such a good time. Like, what does he think, that this is just normal? Like, do you think it was just like the atmosphere, or like, and she was just laughing. She's like, well, I don't know, maybe you like him. And I was like, no, it just gives me hope. Like, there's hope. There's good guys out there in their 30s. Like, this gives me hope. And I just remember being like kind of upset that you didn't get my number. And I'm like, why am I upset? And in fact, remember the conversation, we had both come out of kind of like some heartache. We were actually kind of in relationships with other State Farm agents. And, we were kind of like talking it through that. And it was a lot of things that we shared with each other, but I just couldn't understand this little piece of my heart going like, man, I really wish he would have like asked for my number and we could continue to talk. Anyways, I get home, whatever time, jet lagged, and I get an email. There it is, Matt McCoy. Hey, I thought about you so much.
Or, can I have your number?
Your number. So I was so relieved and so happy. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I gave you my number and you had texted me immediately. And then I remember that night we talked all night and just got to, and then you had said, hey, you should come visit me. And I remember my mom saying, hey, I feel like you are going to visit him. And I was like, oh gosh, what's in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Okay, Mom. Sure enough, you invited me. I go on my first trip to see you. And you drove me straight to your parents' house. I was not prepared, but it was so nice to meet them. And yeah, we just had a great time. And I got to see your office where you lived and took me a little bit around, specifically Broken Arrow. And I had a great time, but I was very worried about, oh my gosh, if I were to ever like really commit, I don't know if I could live like, I was living in River Oaks in Houston, had a house, like walked everywhere, shopped, had the best of everything. And here we are in a smaller, across your office were horses. I thought, oh my goodness, like
Across the street.
we are living such different lives. And so anyway, we start formally dating.
Yeah.
Back and forth. You come to Houston and I'd come to Tulsa. And I think around Thanksgiving, which I was not aware of, you started to talk to my dad.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, so I started talking to your dad about, I'd already had met your parents or had been. And so I think you were kind of thinking that Christmas, you might get a proposal.
Uh-huh.
And I remember you were kind of bummed that Christmas came and went and you didn't get a
I know. I was getting
proposal.
like messages, how old am I at this point? I think I'm 31. So, my whole family has been waiting and waiting. I'm the oldest and just, the oldest cousin. And so they're texting me like, did you get Christmas bling? Like, did you get Christmas bling? And I'm like, no, but I got this Vegas trip. We're going to go to a concert. And so, that's amazing. That's fun. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll happen soon. But, I remember getting those messages. And so the whole time though, you knew what you were doing.
Oh yeah. And so we go to Vegas, I don't know, a couple days after Christmas, and we're having a great time. And then it's New Year's Eve and I'm hanging out. I remember then trying to say, why don't you go get your hair done or go get, get dressed up. And so you get all dressed up and get your hair done. I don't know if I really got my hair done, but that comes to that night. And then we were gonna, because my folks was already out, that you knew that. And so we were gonna go to dinner that night. And I said, well, why don't we before dinner, let's go hang out a little bit just by ourselves before we do that. And so we go to the Paris hotel to the Eiffel Tower, and I take you to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and we're up there looking around and we're talking, and the next thing I know, you turn around, I'm down on my knee, and we get engaged. And then it's like I'm sitting here thinking like, man, there's holes in the bottom of this Eiffel Tower. I'm like, put this thing on. I want to drop this and end up on the strip of Las Vegas. And we do that, and then we come down, and they'd had the Las Vegas Boulevard closed, remember, for a New Year's Eve celebration. And so we're walking down the middle.
Okay, so let me share it from my perspective
Okay.
first. So I'm in Vegas.
Yeah.
And your sister-in-law was like, oh, hey, let's go to the spa. Let's get dressed up. It's New Year's Eve. I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm kind of a pretty hard person to surprise. So I have no idea what's about to come. One, because my parents are not in Vegas. I knew your family had come, but my family was not there. And I was like, surely he's not going to do this without my family. So my guard was down. I'm getting dressed up because, yes, it's New Year's Eve. We're in Vegas. There's 100,000 people on the strip. They shut it down. We go for a little pre-time because we're going to be with the family the whole night. So I go, and there's so many people around us. But all of a sudden, when I turn around, no one is there. And you're on one knee, but you were reading something to me, a very important thing maybe you can share about from 2008.
Yeah.
Mind you, this is 2013.
Yeah.
December 31st, 2013. You wrote on a piece of paper what you wanted in a mate.
Yep.
And you started reading that to me. All these details. And I'm listening to you, and you weren't on your knee yet. So you're reading this to me, and I'm going, wow, he's getting pretty sentimental here. And it started to describe what I thought, even to,
Describe you,
yeah. And that's how you did it. You said, I wrote this down.
I remember just, saying, yeah, I wrote this down, 4 or 5 years ago, long time before, and just things that I wanted in a mate. And I remember just reading it to you, and it was like it was all lined up, all things about you and described you. So I remember then, asking you to marry me, and it was just really emotional. And because I just was like, I can't believe, like, literally God gave me you, know? And so it was a really, really cool moment experience.
It's an amazing moment. And I know we have pictures that captured it because I had no idea that was coming. So I am like so giddy. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my parents are going to be so upset. I have to FaceTime them right now because they didn't see this happen. They've been waiting and waiting. And so I'm trying to FaceTime them, and they keep literally like not answering their phone. I'm like, that's so weird. It's like, why are they not answering? So we're running through, we're trying to get to our dinner because we're a little bit late. We're running through the strip, trying to get to Ruth Chris, I think.
Yeah.
And no, it was serendipity.
Well, yeah, we were thinking, I was telling you, hey, we got to hurry to get to dinner, but I was going to take you through serendipity.
Right.
Conveniently, like we're on our way to get to the dinner place.
So we get there, and of course I see your parents, and they're like, so we're so excited. And I look, and I'm like, man, that looks like my mom. That's so weird. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's my mom and dad. What?
Yeah.
They kept saying they couldn't come to the trip. They were so busy. Yeah. And so I was just so happy. We celebrated, brought in the new year, and it was epic. It was like everything I had imagined. And then we had to figure out, well, what do we do? Yeah. I'm in Houston. You're in Tulsa. What does this mean for the businesses? How does this work? And because of our love for our number 10, when we were on the boat, when we met, we talked about our favorite number. Yeah. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And we even jokingly said, oh, well, that's so rare to find someone who loves the same number. We were both 10 in our collegiate career. And generationally, like our grandfathers were 10, our dads were 10, our moms were 10. And so we thought, well, if we ever had a baby, we would name it 10, or I guess Tenley for a girl. And so immediately, it's New Year's Day, and we're talking about, okay, when are we going to get married? Where are we going to get married? We said, what is 10/10? What date is that?
October 10th, yeah.
It was a Friday.
That was awesome.
OU, Texas weekend.
Yeah.
So we booked our wedding on 10/10/2014
in
El Paso, Texas, and had an OU, Texas like brunch on Saturday. And that's when we got married.
That's right.
And we literally just launched a brand new business 11 years later on 10/10, this past
On 10/10.
10/10/2025.
Good Neighbor Coffee Company.
Good Neighbor Coffee
Launched.
Company. And then we fast forward, and our first child was a daughter.
Yep.
So we named her
Tenley. Tenley. So we got lots to share with you guys. This is going to be a great time. We are so thankful that you have tuned in, and I can't wait to keep sharing more.
Thanks for joining us today on Good Neighbor Game Changers.
If this encouraged you, hey, share it with a friend and keep the movement going.
And remember, real change starts with one act of love.
Let's keep changing the game by loving our neighbors.